excuse my appearance, but don't focus on my appearance because I'm not on here to look good and impress nobody, but it's to dispense the glad tidings. So let's focus on the message. I'm poor, but I'm rich in the spirit and in wisdom. So praise y'all, bless y'all. Shalom, my brothers and sisters, those that are in the faith, those that are out of the faith. All are invited. We're picking up back in 1 Corinthians 8 and 10. I've already petitioned before I went in, and I also petition now that the fruit of my lips be acceptable and that I decrease and he increase, and that every word that is of he be received and that it falls on good ground, good soil, and take root and produce fruit in its season. Hallelujah. So we're going to look at 1 Corinthians 8 and 10. Let me get my glasses. Give me a minute. Excuse me. Hold up. It seems like every time I get ready to record, that's when anybody want to knock on this door. But you know, that's okay. I got 5 children. It's been hot dogs. It's all right. So, 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 10, and I'm going to just read on that verse. It says, for if anyone sees you who have knowledge eating in an idol's place, shall not his conscience, if he is weak, be built up to eat or to eat food offered to idols. Now, this is a person that has a knowing, a knowledge, a science, or a doctrine, right? But apparently, even in all the knowledge that they have, it's a defilement because of the lack of faith that they have. They can cause others who are possibly weak to stumble. When we read this in the book of Acts, 15th chapter, we see that it was a sect that rose up among the Pharisees that were commanding and said that it was needful for the Gentiles to be circumcised according to the practice of Moshe to be saved. Excuse me, I apologize. I'm recording, okay? Just to be saved. So there's a lack of faith, right? Their conscience is already defiled. There's a pretense of worship because he tells us that we are to worship him in spirit and in truth. But even in the law of Moshe, the heart was not right. The heart was not willing. The heart was not submitted. The heart was not a heart of flesh. So therefore, everything that was being offered to Yah was false. It was a lie. And this is why he says in the book of Isaiah that he said, these people draw near to me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. And we're going to talk on this because I do want to go into Hebrews. But we stopped at 1 Corinthians 10, 20 and 21. So I'm going to read that again. No. But what the nations slaughter, they slaughter to demons and not to Elohim. And I do not wish that you become sharers with demons, right? You are not to drink the cup of the master and the cup of demons. You are not able to partake of the table, which is the heart of the master, and the table of demons. Now we're going to go into Numbers 25 and 2. Because I'm going to continue to stress and the importance really understanding the spirit or the meat of the matter of the word. So we get into Numbers 25, verse 2. And they invited the people to slaughterings of their mighty ones. And the people ate and bowed down to their mighty ones. Now, these mighty ones don't necessarily have to mean, oh, they're bowing down to a Buddha or all those other gods, Shiva, whatever. It doesn't have to literally be a carnal, a physical thing that they're bowing down to. But these mighty ones could be their own personal works of the flesh. Sex could be a mighty one for a man or a woman. Lust, lying, cheating, stealing, fornication, adultery. These things are mighty ones, right? They're mountains. But we know that we can remove that mountain by faith, right? He said when we speak to the mountain, that mountain can be removed, right? He's given us power to subdue these mighty ones. So we're going to read the whole thing because these defilements of or pollutions of idols that Paul is saying that we write that they abstain from is no other than the works of the flesh. And Yisrael dwelt in Shittim, and the people began to whore with the daughters of Moab. And they invited the people and the daughters of Moab of the nations. That word daughters doesn't also, it doesn't also always have to mean a physical woman, which we know it was implying that as well. But spiritually, the daughters are the nations. Okay. And they invited the people to the slaughterings of their mighty ones, and the people ate and bowed down to their mighty ones. Thus Yisrael was joined to Baal Peor, and the displeasure of Yahweh burned against Yisrael. And Yahweh said to Moshe, take all the leaders of the people and hang them up before Yahweh, before the sun, so that the burning displeasure of Yahweh turns away from Yisrael. And Moshe said to the judges of Israel, each one of you kill his men who were joined to Baal Peor. And see, Israel came and brought to the brothers a Midianite woman before the eyes of Moshe and before the eyes of all the congregation of the children of Israel who were weeping at the door of the tent of the appointment. This Midianite woman still was a Shemitic woman. It says that they were weeping at the door. They were weeping at the door of the tent. The door is the heart, and the tent of the appointment is Christ. They're in repentance. And when Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregations and took a spear in his hand. And he went after the man of Israel into the tent and thrust both of them through the man of Israel and the woman through her belly. Thus the plague among the children of Israel came to be a stop. So he put it under the ban. That thing that was accursed or was abominable, he put it under the ban. He destroyed it. And those who died of the plague were 24,000. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, has turned back my wrath from the children of Israel, because he was ardent, he was zealous or passionate with my ardor in their midst, so that I did not consume the children of Israel in my ardor. Therefore, see, I am giving him a covenant of peace. And it shall be to him and to his seed after him a covenant of an everlasting priesthood. It's already a promise of Christ right there. We got to understand what this is. This covenant is everlasting priesthood. This is already being prophesied of Christ. Christ is the priest, the everlasting priestship. After the order of Melchizedek, it has no beginning and no end. No, without genealogy, without father, without mother. Right. So he says, this is what he says right here. I'm giving him my covenant of peace, and it shall be to him and to his seed after him a covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because he was ardent, zealous, passionate, jealous for his Elohim, and he made atonement. There it is, right? He made an atonement for the children of Israel. And the name of the man of Israel who was struck with the Midianite woman, was Zimri, son of Salum, a leader of a father's house among the Shemonites. And the name of the Midianite woman who was struck was Cosbi, the daughter of Zur. He was head of the people of the father's house in Midian. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, distress the Midianites, and you shall strike them, for they distress you with their tricks, with which they deceived you in the matter of Peor, and in the matter of Cosbi, the daughter of the leader of Midian, their sister, who was struck in the day of the plague because of Peor. We already see it in reading that whole chapter. It was a matter of idolatry, which was whoring. That's why Paul says, no, 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 we don't trouble them, but we write to them that they abstain from whoring, idolatry, right? From things strangled and from blood, murder. And the reason why I said that we got to understand the spirit of the matter, let me tell you something. People, and I'm going to go to Hebrews 7 right quick. People talk about the law, and I'm not sure if it's in the law. He said, touch not, handle not those things that were dogmas or traditions, false humiliation or false worship that are going to perish. We got to understand what the spirit of the law is. There's people that keep the dietary law. So they say, oh, no, we don't believe in eating pig and the swine and this and that. It's unclean, it's unclean, it's unclean. As Peter said when given a vision, no, no, I've never ate anything unclean. But I got a news flash for you folks. If you are operating in the spirit of pride, you are eating a food that is unclean. You're eating pig. See, when you're operating in the works of the flesh, you're already eating unclean meat. You're already breaking the dietary law. So we must understand the spirit of it. If you go into the Leviticus and you break it down and get into it, and I have labored with my son, it is not really physically focused on the carnality of foods, eating this type of food and that type of food. It's a spirit behind it. Because there are many that keep the dietary law and they may have never ate pig, pork, or this or that in their life, but in the spirit, they are eating it because they're walking in pride, they're walking in envy, they're walking in jealousy, they're walking in covetousness, greediness, and so forth. So we definitely have to understand the spirit of the matter. I'm going to go to Judges 9 and 27. I want to read this. But I'm going to come back. Hebrews 7, I definitely want to read that. So let's go to Judges 9:27. Judges 9 and 27. It reads, and went out into the fields and gathered their vineyards and trod out and held a feast, and they went into the house of their mighty one and ate and drank and cursed Abimelech. Now I behoove you to read the whole entire chapter of chapter 9 of Judges. I'm not going to read it. But we talk about eating and drinking now, right? It says they ate and drank to their mighty one. This is a sacrifice. We eat and drink. We're supposed to eat and drink unto the Lord, to Yahweh. He says it in his word. So, and we got to understand what this eating and drinking is spiritually. We read 1 Corinthians 10:28. Let me go to 10:28. We'll come back to that. 28, 29, and 32. And if anyone says to you, this was slaughtered to idols, do not eat it because of the one pointing it out to you, and on account of the conscience. For the earth belongs to Yahweh and all that fills it. Now I say conscience, not your own, but that of the other. For why is my freedom, right of liberation or shrimp, judged by another's conscience? But if I partake with thanks, why am I evil spoken of for what I give thanks, right? So not only is this is if you pay attention, both um, both ends or both sides have to be conscious or considerate one to another to make sure that they're not causing one another to stumble. It's a respect, it's an esteem, it's a fear there. And the fear is because there's a fear of Yah, because the Yah is inside of him, Yah is inside of him, her, right? Vice versa. So with that discernment, you know that you're not going to say or do anything that's going to cause them to stumble. Because if your knowledge or knowing is going to cause somebody to stumble, then be dumb. Don't. And when I say that, to humble yourself, you don't give it to them. You don't eat it. Don't try to make them eat it. If that's what you believe and convict you, you walk wholeheartedly in it. But don't bring it and force it on another. If that's making sense. Verse 32, cause no stumbling either to the Yehudim or to the Greeks or to the assembly of Elohim. Let's go to Romans 14. And the reason why I'm not reading that whole thing is the reason why I've read 1 Corinthians 10 in its whole chapter, because I'm going to end up going somewhere in all of this. Please, be still. You got the Pharisees. They had a knowledge. They had a knowing. And I'm going to keep saying this. But what good was it? We read the parable in Matthew's 25 that, many had talents and there was one that had it, but they hid it. They concealed it. And in the book of Ecclesiastes, because I believe it's chapter 45, the book of wisdoms, it was saying how it's better for a fool to hide his foolishness than for a man to hide his wisdom. He hid it. So you have a wisdom, you have a knowledge, but you're hiding it. See, now, if you go into the word Saphan in the Hebrew, the book of Proverbs says, my son. The book of Proverbs says, 7. He says, hide, my son, guard my words and hide my commands with you. Now that hide comes from the Hebrew word Saphan. It means to store up, treasure up, hoard up, preserve, protect, but it also, you're holding on to it, right? It's like a keepsake. But it also, if you ever look into that word, you'll also see the word deny. Now, in a positive connotation, we're supposed to deny ourselves. That's how we're going to be able to maintain and obtain and possess the word. But if we deny him, then he'll deny us. And that is one that has a wisdom and they're hiding it. They're not utilizing it. There was a reminded of a time where it was the Pharisees and he was walking past a beggar, one that was, begging or poor, and he acted as if he walked past him as if he didn't even see him. But having a knowledge, being able to help and do not help. That's why he says in the parable, look, when I was hungry, you gave me bread. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. When I was a stranger, you took me in. All of these things. What are you doing with what he has given? Are you hiding it? That's a coward. He said, hey, you should have took it to the bankers. A banker is one that helps assist, can help assist you in your gift. But hey, this is, let's go to Romans 14. And some of them have been redundant, the testimony, so I'm not reading them all. 14, 14, and 23. And he says, I know and I am persuaded in the Master Yeshua that none at all is common of itself, but to whom who regards whatever to be common, to him it is common. Now we go in verse 23. But he who doubts if he eats is condemned because it is not of belief. And all that is not of belief is of sin. All that is not of faith is of what? 1 Corinthians 8:1. And concerning food offered to idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. So, like I said, these Pharisees had a knowledge. They had a knowing, a science, a doctrine, but they did not build up the brethren in love. They would walk past you like they don't even see you. They would look down on others and say, "Oh," as a tax collector prayed and could not even look up, lift his eyes up, lift his head up. But then you have the Pharisees saying, "Oh, I'm glad I'm not like others," right? I'm glad I'm not like these, looking down. And it's a pride, not able to build up, thinking that you're better than the other, thinking because what you have and what you have, you did not, it's not, it was given to you. As Paul said, don't act like you have not received this. Humble yourself. So now I'm going to be led to go into Hebrews 7, because we know that the law was made manifest to bring light to sin. Sin. Somebody say sin, right? That's why the law was made. And so that man would not be without excuse. All right, so Caleb, you okay? Caleb? So Hebrews 7, 7 and 18. But I'm going to end up reading the whole entire 7, 18, and 19. Caleb, you give me the bottle of water? So Hebrews 7, 18, and 19, and it reads, "For there is indeed a setting aside, of the former command because of its weakness and unprofitableness." Now remember, we was in the scriptures and we read how all things are permitted, right? But not all is profitable. That's what we got to remember. Thank you, sweetie. And then verse 19 says, "For the Torah, the law, perfected not nothing," right? But the bringing in of a better expectation through which we draw near to Elohim. I'm gonna take here. So it says, "For there is indeed a setting aside," right? Now, this setting aside comes from the word ephetheus, right? Ephetheus. In the Greek, it's 115. A setting aside it's an annulment, right? A nullification, an abrogation, a cancellation. An example of what is rendered no longer in effect. Let's take a look at this. What is rendered no longer in effect, literally no longer having a place, cancellation, literally or figuratively disannulling, a putting away. The root of that is etheteo, and that is Greek. In the Greek, that is 114. To do away with what has been laid down, set aside. I annul. That's the usage of it. Make of no effect. Set aside. Ignore. Slight. I break faith with. Of the preceding. So when people say that the law is done away with, I wouldn't necessarily use that term and say the law is done away with, because the law, which is the Torah, which is in instructions and directions, is Christ, Yeshua. So he's not done away with. But we got to understand what we're saying, and we use these words. But the law of Moshe, the practices, the dogmas, the touch not, this taste not, handle, those things were to perish. Those things were done away with. They do not profit. There was a false humiliation, a false of worship, and this is what the word says, right? So it says it goes in and says, indeed, a setting aside, a cancellation, and a nullification, right, an abrogation of the former or the preceding beginning command because of its weakness. And let's look at this. This weakness comes from the word asthenes. In the Greek is 772, without strength, weak. The usage literally not strong, weak physically or morally, infirm, sick. Right? Now we have to understand, why is it saying because of its weakness? Is the law weak? No, it's the flesh. It is the keeping of the law in the flesh that weakens the law. The laws no by chance weak, but listen to it. Because of its weakness and unprofitableness, for the Torah perfected nothing but the bringing in of a better expectation through which we draw near to Elohim. He said, you must come in through the door. No man can enter in but by the door. You must go through the Son to enter through me. You must humble yourself. There is a character, there is a behavior, there is a essence, there's an image, which is the blood. That's where the life lies. There is a reputation, there is deeds that you must imitate in order to conversate, in order to have an intimacy, in order for me to even look towards you, to answer you. This is the door. The door is the heart. This is the heart of flesh. This is the character. This is the child that you must walk in. You must walk as a son in order to draw near to me. This is what has to be done. So there's a bringing in of something better, a better expectation, a better hope, a better faith, a better confidence, a better trust through which we draw near to Elohim. First, we got to humble ourselves. But he was the humility. He was the humble letter. And it was not without an oath. For they indeed became priests without an oath. But he became priest with an oath by him who is said to him, Yahweh has sworn, and I shall not regret. You are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. We see that in the book of Tehillim, in the book of Psalms, 110th chapter, verse 4. It's in our law. By as much as this Yeshua has become a guarantor of a better covenant. He's the pledge. He's the surety, the cosigner of a better promise, a better covenant. And indeed, those that became priests were many because they were prevented by death from continuing. You see the imperfection? There were many priests because they had to be continuing. It was continuing because of what? Death. It was prevented by death from continuing. By death. But he is the first fruits. He is the first begotten of the dead. Catch that. Remember that. He is the only man that was the first begotten, first fruits, first begotten of the dead. Therefore, he is also able to save completely those who draw near to Elohim through him, ever living to make intercession for them. Let's go back. But because he remains forever. Why he remains forever? Because he was the first begotten of the dead. He still yet lives. His flesh died. He died to his flesh. But his spirit, his Ruach, his Holy Spirit, yet lives and is able and is bringing aid and advantage and help and salvation and deliverance to man. So, but he who is forever, remains forever, has an unchangeable priesthood. Therefore, he is also to save completely those who draw near to Elohim through him, ever living to make intercession for them. For it was fitting that we should have such a high priest, kind, innocent, undefiled, having been separated from sinners and exalted above the heavens. We never had those type of priests in the days of old. Who does not need, as those high priests, to offer up slaughter offerings day by day, first for his own sins? They had to offer up sacrifices for their own sins. They had to kadosh themselves and make sure that they were set apart, that they was holy, that they were sanctified, so they can receive the sacrifices of the offerings and slaughters of the people. Who does not need, as those high priests, to offer up slaughter offerings day by day, first for his own sins and then for those of the people? For this he did once for all when he offered up himself. He did it once and for all. For the Torah, or the law, the instruction and direction, appoints as high priests men who have weaknesses. So the law was appointing high priests men who have weakness, but the word of the oath which came after the Torah appoints the Son, having been perfected forever. That's what we got to remember, folks. That's what we have to remember. Because we got to understand, what was the purpose of the law? You want to know what the purpose of the law is? But here it is. Here it is. That's why he tells us, those that know, you do not know as you should. The purpose of the law. Let's go to 1 Timothy 1, verse 9. And it says, knowing this, that the Torah is not laid down for a righteous being or soul, but for the lawless and unruly. What was the bringing in what was the law laid for? What was the foundation of the law? Why was the law made manifest? Why was the law created, constructed? Why was the law brought forth? It says right here, the law, knowing this, that the Torah is not laid down for a righteous soul, but for the lawless and unruly. So those that want to say we must go back into the circumcision keeping of the Torah of Moshe, we must keep the laws of Moses. It says right here, it shows that you're still being rebellious. You may not see it, but you're still in rebellion and disobedience. You're still walking in your flesh. It's made for the lawless and unruly, for the wicked, and for sinners, for the wrongdoers and the profane, for those who kill their fathers or mothers, for murderers. Let's go up to 8 and we're going to stop at 11. And we know that the Torah is good if one uses it legitimately. The Torah is good if you use it lawfully. How many of us did that though? Knowing that the Torah is not laid down for a righteous being or soul, but for the lawless and unruly, for the wicked and for the sinner, and for the wrongdoer, and the profane, and for those who kill their fathers or mothers, for murderers, for those who whore. This is why he said, hey, no. Paul said it in Acts. He said, no, we're not telling them to go back to the law. We're not telling them they must be circumcised and keep under the command of Moshe. No, we're going to write to them that they abstain from whoring and from things strangled and from blood. Back to the 10 words in the book of Exodus. For those who whore, for sodomites, for kidnappers, for liars, for perjurers, and for whatever else that is contrary to sound teaching. Well, the Pharisees was the ones that promoted that you have to, in order for you to be saved, you got to keep the law of Moshe. You got to be circumcised according to the law command of Moshe. But guess what? They showed who they were by their speech, and it reflected their heart, because what's in the heart comes out of the mouth. They were jealous. They were envious. They were kidnappers. They were liars. They were perjurers, and so forth. Murderers of father and mother, sister and brother. He says, for those who whore, for sodomites, for kidnappers, or for liars, for perjurers, and for whatever else that is contrary to sound teaching, according to the esteem good news of the blessed Elohim, which was entrusted to me. There it is, folks. Right? There it is. So let's go back. 1 Corinthians 8:10. It says, for if anyone sees you who have knowledge, a knowing, a science, a doctrine, right, eating in an idol's place, which is a false worship, a temple, an idol's place is an idol symbol of false worship, false deity. This is all pretense. Shall not his conscience, if he is weak, be built up to eat food offered to idols? They don't even know the Pharisees was going to cause many that was could be also weak to stumble by what their knowledge and their zeal. This is why it's dangerous, and this is why we have to be very cautious and careful. I'm going to read this chapter and I'm going to end it off. And concerning food offered to idols, we know that we have knowledge. Knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. If anyone thinks that he knows somewhat, he does not yet know as he should know. We got to become fools so we can become wise. We got to humble ourselves so he can exalt us. But the problem is, men don't want to become a fool. Men already think he's wise. Men think he know it all. Oh, I know, no, 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 no. I can't tell you nothing. I can't teach you nothing. He said, I come for the sick. I'm coming for the sinner. I didn't come for the righteous. But if anyone loves Elohim or obeys, this one is known by him, discerned, perceived by him. So then concerning the eating of foods offered to idols, we know that an idol is no matter at all in the world, and that there is no other Elohim but one. For even if there are so-called mighty ones, whether in the heavens or on the earth, as there are many mighty ones in many masters, right, lords, for us there is only one Elohim. He said, I am the master of masters and the Lord of lords and the kings of kings and the God of gods, right? He said, there's only one Elohim, the Father from whom all came and for whom we live, and one Master, Yeshua, Messiah, or the Christ, the anointed, through whom all came and through whom we live. However, not all have this knowledge, but some, being aware of the idol, false worship, until now eat it as having been offered to an idol. So their conscience being weak is defiled. But see, now that their conscience that is weak, that could be defiled, their faith can cause somebody else to stumble. We got to be careful. That's why he said, faith will happen to yourself. Don't go creating any, any doctrine that is not a Messiah. You cannot create anything that if it's not sound, then you're on dangerous grounds. When you go teaching outside, that is eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That is leaning to thy own understanding. That's your own counsel. He already told us how to build. He told us to love one another. He said, do not set a stumbling block before one another. Don't cause this one to fall or this one to fall based off of what you agree to, and vice versa. This one is no better if he eats. This one is no better if he do eat. One eats this, one eats, doesn't eat. One eats all, right? So it says, however, for us, this one Elohim, the Father from whom all came, hold on, and from whom we live, in one Master, Yeshua Messiah. Stay right here. I'm almost done. Yeshua Messiah, through whom, what did I just say? Sit right here. I'm almost done. However, not all have this knowledge, but some being aware of the idol until now eat it as, I apologize, children, having been offered to an idol, so their conscience being weak is defiled. But food does not commend us to Elohim, for we are none the better if we eat, nor any worse for not eating. But look to it, lest somehow this right of yours becomes a stumbling block to those who are weak. For if anyone sees you who have a knowledge, eating in an idol's place, shall not his conscience, if he is weak, be built up to eat food offered to idols? So this weak brother, for whom Messiah died, shall perish through your knowledge. Now sinning in this way against the brothers, you and wounding their weak conscience, you sin against Messiah. Therefore, if food makes my brother stumble, I am never again going to eat meat, lest I make my brother stumble. If what I know is going to cause you to stumble, then I don't need to give it to you. I don't need to eat it. Vice versa. And that's why we got to understand, because people may think they know, but he said we don't know as we should. Just like in the law of the dietary law, clean and unclean, what is he? We've got to know the spirit of these things. Because like I said, you can be eating, you can never eat anything unclean, but in the spirit, you could be eating all kinds of unclean beasts and creatures. chameleon and all these things that he said not to eat because it's unclean. Because in the spirit, if you connect those animals and break them down, they go back into the works of the flesh. So there was a message. There was something that he wanted us to get. But how can we discern the spirit when we still walking in the flesh? Huh? This is why the heart has to be changed. So, I laugh at a lot of people, and when I say laugh, I chuckle when people try to attack me and say this and this and that. And I don't get into battles and debates, and that's Satan. Because somebody else could fall into a snare. Somebody could fall and stumble just from that. But he's taught me something. And whoever has an ear to hear what the Spirit is saying, let him hear, right? And we got to understand the spirit of the matter in all these things. So, that was a recap. And I would have added more to it, but I'm not for right now. I got to finish up some things with my youngest. He's not feeling too well. But yeah, he gave me understanding of the spirit of the matter of the dietary law. So he said it's not what goes into you that defiles the man, but it's what's coming out. He says cleanse the heart. Because see, the heart is the fountain, it's the landscape. The heart has the power to change the molecular structure or chemical of anything you put in your body. That means you could put something poison in your body, but if you have a heart of love, peace, joy, temperance, patience, goodness, meekness, humility, gentleness, righteousness, faithfulness, all those, when you have a pure heart, that thing that is poison is actually going to be good for you. It won't harm you. It'll be good for you. That's the power he has given us. So he says, cleanse the heart, change the heart. Because it don't matter what type of food you eat, that you eat, that ain't got nothing to do, because it's coming out of the draw anyway. It's coming right out of you anyway. He said it's the heart that has to be fixed. Because when you have a wicked heart, you can eat something that's supposed to be so healthy for you, so good. It's supposed to be got all the nutrients, the best thing, most healthiest thing for you. But with a wicked heart, you eat that and it ain't gonna do your body no good. It could probably be toxic for you. That's how powerful the heart is. It is the fountain, it is the landscape. How can bitter and sweet come out of how? Out of the same fountain. Purify the heart, cleanse the heart. Let's build on love and build on the simplicity of the word, sound teaching and doctrine of Christ Yeshua. And that's love. That's the true wisdom and the true knowledge. And I bless God. I bless y'all. And I hope y'all enjoyed this tonight. And y'all have a blessed weekend, brothers and sisters. Be blessed. Be blessed. Enjoy your weekend. Like I said, excuse my appearance. Don't focus on me. Don't ever focus on how I'm looking or what I'm, because I'm just a vessel. I'm not here to look good for nobody or be seen or be liked. I'm just here to do a service and do a word. That's it, to do a work. And that, like I said, he who has the ear, let him hear what the Spirit is saying, so that his glad tidings is about him. He said they have given up their lives. So it's not about me. I'm not focused on that, So if I could, I would take my face out of it. You don't see me. I did that on a lot of videos when I was in Egypt, but I can't do it on this device. But I hope that this was edifying, it was convicting, and it was a solace, and it was comforting, that was encouraging to see the compassion that he has, his desire, how he does not want neither of us to perish, that he desires that we all be saved, and that he's watching how we treat one another, because how we treat one another is it's basically what we're doing to him. But we say we love him, huh? Oh, liar. That's what he said in the book of John 4. How can you say you love me whom you never seen? You have not discerned me. Because if you've seen and discerned me, you'll know that I'm in your brother. But you see your brother daily, and yet you do not love him. Liar. Anti-Messiah. That many anti-Messiahs and don't even know it, because they can't even love their brethren. But anywho, I want to keep going. I pray that y'all have a blessed night, a blessed weekend, that y'all take a Sabbath and rest and cease and desist from your own will, your own ways, your own works, which is the works of the flesh. That is the toil, the evil and bad toil that weighs us down. That he says, look, give it unto me. Because he said, there's no rest for the wicked. But he says, come unto me, all you are weary and laboring, and I'll give you rest. Come in, enter unto me, enter into the house of the Lord, right? And he is the Bethel, he is the house, he is the tabernacle of David, as we are to be the same. Well, I bless y'all, and I bless y'all continually for this. And I pray that it was a blessing, and y'all be blessed. Shalom, shalom.